welcome back. We continue today in the first chapter of Ashtavakra Gita, beginning with verse 5. As I chant each line, you can read the English translation and then chant along with me as I repeat. Natvam vipradiko varno, natvam vipradiko varno, nashrami nakshagocharaha, nashrami nakshagocharaha, asango sinerakaro, asango sinerakaro, Vishva Sakshi sukhi bhava, Vishva Sakshi sukhi bhava. Here, Ashtavakra addresses Janaka, Tvam, you, O king, na vipradika varna. You do not belong to any of the four castes. You are not a brahmana, a kshatriya, a vaishya, or a shudra. Of course, as a king, Janaka is indeed a kshatriya, but his true self, atma, is not. Further, na ashrami. You do not fit into any of the four stages of life. You are not a student, a householder, a retired person, or a renounced monk. Yet Janaka is married. Sita is his daughter. But his true self, Atma, has no wife or children. Also, na akshagocharaha. You are not visible to the eyes. You are not accessible to the senses. Even though Janaka is sitting right across from Ashtavakra, his essential nature as pure consciousness is imperceptible. For these reasons, Ashtavakra tells the king, asangaha asi. You are detached, distinct, completely separate from everything in the world, including your own body and mind. And you are nirakara. You are formless, featureless, partless. Why? Because consciousness has no size or shape, nor does it have any weight or color. Consciousness has no attributes at all, no features of any kind. That means the dullness you feel when you first wake up in the morning is not an attribute of consciousness. It's your mind that wakes up dull and becomes bright after you shower and drink a cup of coffee. You are conscious of the dullness and brightness of your mind. The same holds true for emotional moods like happiness and sadness, and for mental conditions like agitation and calmness. These moods and conditions are attributes that belong to your mind, not consciousness. It's consciousness that makes you aware of happiness, sadness, agitation, and the rest. Here's a little bit of logic for you. Anything that has attributes is subject to change. Like your body, for instance. Your body has weight, so it can get heavier if you eat too much. Your body has color, so it can get darker if you spend too much time in the sun. But anything that's completely free from attributes has nothing that's subject to change, nothing that can be affected. Pure consciousness, atma, has no attributes, so it has nothing that's subject to change. For this reason, atma, your true nature, can't be affected by anything, not by your body, nor by your mind, nor by anything in the world around you. At the end of this verse, Ashtavakra describes consciousness as Vishva Sakshi, the witness of all, the observer of all objects, everything that exists. Long before Ashtavakra, some rishis made a radical discovery about the nature of consciousness. They found that there is only one consciousness, one all-pervasive universal consciousness that becomes manifest in every living being and gets reflected in our minds and hearts. That universal consciousness is the so-called spark of divinity that dwells within us all. Now, you might wrongly assume that this spark of divinity is just a little spark, a tiny flicker. That is, you might wrongly assume that the consciousness within you is just a small part of the one all-pervasive universal consciousness that the rishis discovered. But that's not at all what Ashtavakra says here. He says that consciousness, the consciousness that's manifest within you and reflected by your mind and heart, that consciousness is itself Vishva Sakshi, the one all-pervasive universal consciousness. How is that possible? Well, suppose 3 buckets of water are standing outside on the ground on a sunny day, and each of them happens to reflect the light of the sun. Suppose you look at the sun's reflection in one of the buckets. Will you only see 1/3 of the sun reflected there? No, you'll see the entire sun reflected in the water. This example shows a huge defect in a conventional conclusion, the conclusion that your consciousness is yours alone. Your consciousness is somehow stuck inside your head and is accessible only to you. But all-pervasive consciousness cannot be stuck inside your head any more than the sun can be stuck inside a bucket. Metaphorically speaking, consciousness shines everywhere, like the sun, and your mind reflects that shining consciousness like water in a bucket. The very idea of my consciousness or your consciousness is wrong. It's based on ignorance of the true nature of consciousness. Of course, Janaka is already enlightened, so he doesn't subscribe to these wrong ideas. Janaka knows very well that the thoughts in his mind, in Ashtavakra's mind, and in every mind are all revealed by the same all-pervasive consciousness. Since Janaka already understands this, Ashtavakra concludes this verse very simply by saying, Sukhi bhava, be happy, be content, be at peace. Now, let's get ready for today's guided contemplation. In a previous class, I said that the formal practice of Nididhyasana has several steps. We already discussed the first step, which is to select a particular topic or teaching for contemplation, preferably a teaching that you have understood quite well, but you have not fully assimilated yet. We also discussed the second step, which is to prepare your mind for Nididhyasana through meditation by practicing any technique that makes your mind extremely quiet and narrowly focused. The third and fourth steps were actually included in the guided contemplations that we performed together in the last 2 classes. But so far, we have not yet discussed and explained those steps, so let's do that now. The third step that follows meditation is to recall the particular topic or teaching that you previously selected for contemplation. The specific words and phrases that you choose to call into your mind are really important. Those words and phrases must be carefully formulated to make them suitable and effective for the fourth step. We'll discuss this further in future classes, but in the meanwhile, I will model or demonstrate the third step for you in the coming guided meditation sessions. The fourth step in the formal practice of Nididhyasana is perhaps the most important. In the words of my guru, the fourth step is to see the truth of the words that you're contemplating on. To see the truth of the words means to see for yourself. It means to personally confirm or verify the truth conveyed by those words by relating them to your own experience. In other words, the fourth step is to experientially confirm or validate the particular teaching that you're contemplating on. Here's an example that shows the role of that fourth step. Most high school and college courses in chemistry include both lectures and laboratory sessions. During the lectures, you're meant to fully grasp the principles of chemistry being taught in the class. And then later, in the laboratory, you have to conduct experiments to test and confirm the principles that you learned in the lecture hall. The fourth step of Nididhyasana is a bit like those lab sessions in that you conduct mental experiments, so to speak, to confirm or verify certain Vedantic principles that you have already understood. In this metaphor, there are 2 points that you should take note of. First of all, knowledge of chemical principles is gained in the lecture hall, not in the laboratory. The purpose of the lab sessions is to confirm or verify what you have already learned in the lecture hall. In the same way, the discovery of your true nature as pure consciousness takes place during Shravana, when you use the teachings of Advaita Vedanta to guide your personal process of self-inquiry. So the purpose of Nididhyasana is not to discover anything, but rather it's meant to help you assimilate the knowledge that you have already discovered. The second point regarding this metaphor is about what happens when a student completely fails to understand the principles taught in the lecture hall, and nevertheless, he or she goes into the laboratory to conduct experiments. Now, if that student meticulously follows the instructions for performing the experiment is likely to be successful in spite of the student's lack of understanding. But here's the problem. The last step of every experiment is to interpret the results, to analyze the experimental findings. But if a student has not understood the relevant chemical principles in the first place, then how can he or she correctly interpret the results of the experiment? This point shows why I said before, you can only contemplate on something that you have already understood. Okay, in today's session, we're going to contemplate on Ashtavakra's teaching that consciousness has no attributes. In the third step, I will call that particular teaching to mind, using carefully selected words and phrases. Then, in the fourth step, I'll give you the opportunity to experientially confirm or verify that fact for yourself. Let me explain how that fourth step works. Like in our previous guided contemplations, I'll chant Om several times, and I'll pause in between repetitions to leave a gap, a moment of silence. If you have already properly prepared your mind through meditation, your mind will not wander at all during those moments of silence. No thoughts, emotions, or perceptions of any kind will arise. During those moments of silence, pure consciousness alone remains present. So, if consciousness were to have any attributes of its own, those attributes would be present during those moments of silence. For example, if happiness or sadness were an attribute of consciousness, then during a moment of silence, those feelings would be present in your experience. On the other hand, the absence of such feelings during moments of silence confirms the fact that consciousness does not have those attributes. That explanation is a bit terse, so here's a simpler way to understand it. Suppose air had the attribute of glowing with a faint purple light. Then, in a dark room full of air, you would see the purple glow. But if you don't see the purple glow, then you know for sure that air does not have that particular attribute. The dark room, of course, represents a silent mind. One last point. During each moment of silence, you simply observe. You don't have to think about anything. But then, after those moments have passed, you can reflect on what you observed. This alternation between silent observation and thoughtful reflection is the essence of the fourth step of Nididhyasana. It's how you can experientially confirm what you have already understood. Okay, let's begin. You can pause this video right now and practice your chosen meditation technique to get ready. Then, when your mind is sufficiently quiet and focused, you can return to this video and listen to the following guided contemplation with your eyes closed. If your mind is perfectly quiet and completely focused right now, we can continue. Consciousness makes you aware of whatever is happening right now. Consciousness makes you aware of everything you experience. And, according to the ancient rishis, that consciousness has no attributes whatsoever. The rishis called it Shuddha Chaitanya, pure consciousness. Here, the word pure doesn't refer to a state of being clean or pristine. The expression pure water means only water, water alone, water without anything else, water without any impurities, water without any taste or color. In the same way, the expression pure consciousness means only consciousness, consciousness alone, consciousness without anything else, without shape or form, without size or weight, without taste or color. Consciousness that's featureless, without properties of any kind. Let's find out if there are any attributes in consciousness right now. I'll chant Om several times with a short gap between repetitions. In the moment of silence between repetitions, just observe to see if any attributes are present in your experience. In the moment of silence between repetitions, do you experience any sadness, any anger, any hurt? In the moment of silence between repetitions, do you experience any kind of emotion at all? In the moments of silence, do you experience any confusion, agitation, or dullness? In the moments of silence, what do you experience? In the moments of silence, what do you experience? each moment of silence, what do you experience? Om.